On this video, I'll try to answer the question, what is Kabbalah? And go over what it is that Kabbalah addresses. Last, I'll give you an introduction to one of the main teachings of Kabbalah, the Tree of Life. The word Kabbalah means receiving. Kabbalah goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden and was passed down through the millennia through the many different Jewish sages. It was a secret teaching that was hidden from the general population until the beginning of Hasidism in the 1700s. At that time, it was delivered to the common man in a graspable way, and even today, more and more books are being translated, making Kabbalah available and accessible to everyone. First, I'd like to start explaining Kabbalah by teaching you about the 4 primary ways to understand the Torah, or the 5 books of Moses. There is an acronym for remembering these 4 levels of interpretation, Pardes, which is actually the Hebrew word meaning paradise, and it refers to heaven and to the Garden of Eden. For this example, we'll take the first word of the Torah and show how it's interpreted on each of these levels. The first letter of the acronym stands for the word Pshat, which means literal. It's the simple surface understanding of the text. For example, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. There's no deeper meaning. This line just means what it says. The wrong use of Torah has come from this level of interpretation. The second letter of Pardes stands for Remez, which means the hint. This level of interpretation allows us to extrapolate on a hint that we find from the literal text. For example, when a particular word's gematria, or numerology, adds up to the same number that another word does, then we can make a connection between the 2 words. We can also do this with an entire phrase and then equate it with another phrase. For example, Bereshit bara, in the beginning he created. This phrase adds up to the same number as the phrase, on Rosh Hashanah, the world was created. Thus, under the Remez level of interpretation, Rosh Hashanah is the birthday of creation. The third letter of Pardes stands for Drash, which means homily. A midrash is an even deeper understanding of the text, usually told in a story or an analogy. For example, the word Bereshit, in the beginning, can be translated as 2 beginnings, because the first letter of the word is a bet, which equals the number 2. Then, instead of the bet meaning in, it's translated as 2, and the rest of the word still means beginning. So a drash on that would be a story about what those 2 beginnings are. For example, the drash could be that the 2 beginnings were darkness and then light. And so this helps us to understand that first we have to go through darkness in our lives in order to access more light. The last letter of Pardes stands for the word Sod, which means secret. This is the deepest level of interpretation, and it's the interpretation that we get from Kabbalah. It's the esoteric mystical way of interpreting Torah. And here's an example taken directly from Chabad.org, which is a Hasidic Kabbalah site that gives answers for just about any question regarding Judaism that one could have. It's a deep interpretation of the first word of the Torah, Bereshit. It says, the Tikkune Zohar, a book which has 70 different esoteric explanations for the word Bereshit, explains that the word Bereshit can also be split into two words, bara shis, which means created with six. This is because the world was created through God's 6 emotional soul powers: kindness, severity, beauty, victory, splendor, and foundation. Kabbalah can be very dense and hard to understand. Hasidism, which I will explain more in another video, brought Kabbalah down to earth and more easily graspable. Some of the topics covered by Kabbalah include created worlds that are beyond this world, the soul of man, a description of all the spiritual realms and creations, the reason for the creation of this world and humankind, a unique method for spiritual development, reincarnation and the recycling of souls, the afterlife. Why was this world created? How do I become closer to God? What is my purpose and what is prayer? And so on and on and on. So many of us don't even know the how of living Jewishly. And most Jewish institutions will give you the instructions on the what that you can do. But only Kabbalah gives you the answers to why. Only Kabbalah gives you the answers to the most important questions of all. Why be Jewish? Why live Jewishly? And why should we be Jews at all? But best of all, Kabbalah is so beautiful and so awesome that it can help you feel proud again of being a Jew. One of the main teachings in Kabbalah is that of the tree of life. Remember that the tree of life was mentioned in Genesis after Adam and Eve ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. In Genesis, God says that if Adam and Eve had also eaten from the tree of life, they would be able to live forever. So after banishing them from the Garden of Eden, God stationed at the east of Eden the cherubim and the flame of the ever-turning sword to guard the way to the tree of life. The tree of life is sometimes called the map of creation. The Kabbalists explain to us that this tree is a diagram or blueprint of the created worlds. It's the path that God took in limiting the unlimited so that there could be a created world. So as we find our way back to Eden, or our path back to God, the tree of life could be the gateway. And since we are a creation, we can see the tree within us. The sefirot that are within the tree are also found within ourselves, and they are called our soul powers. I have included an article called Finding Yourself in the Tree of Life that gives an introduction to each of these soul powers and shows how to identify them through an example of the development of a child into an adult. The Sphirot on the tree can be seen as your character traits. The paid version of this class goes into the Tree of Life in more depth, allowing you to understand it better and showing how to work with it for your own spiritual development. In fact, each year between Pesach and Shavuot, we examine each of the 7 emotional Sphirot for 49 days. Thus, Kabbalah gives us an explanation for why this world was created and offers us a unique way to develop spiritually. It gives us an understanding of the soul of man, along with a map for all of the spiritual worlds and spiritual creations. And the deepest, most important questions of human existence can be found within the Jewish mystical tradition of Kabbalah. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this class. In the next video, I'll give you a history of Kabbalah.